Sheikh Hasina, long-time leader of the Awami League in Bangladesh, was ousted in a dramatic sequence of events following mass student protests in 2024. A transitional government headed by Muhammad Yunus took over, and the International Crimes Tribunal Bangladesh moved against Hasina, charging her with crimes against humanity. On 17 November 2025, the tribunal sentenced Hasina in absentia to the death penalty.
It is hereby ordered that accused Sheikh Hasina be found guilty on 3 counts under charge 1. Count number 1, incitement. Count number 2, order to kill. Count number 3, inaction to prevent the atrocities and failing to take punitive actions against the perpetrators. For all these 3 counts, we have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
In parallel, the interim Bangladeshi government has asked India to extradite her, stating that her presence in India represents a refusal to respect justice and an unfriendly act. Thus, the question is now, will India comply with Dhaka's demand and send Hasina back? And on what basis might it refuse? Bangladesh's government has formally asked India to extradite Hasina. As per reports, in December 2024, Dhaka sent a note verbal, the standard diplomatic channel to New Delhi, requesting Hasina's return for judicial process. After the death sentence verdict, a Bangladeshi Foreign Ministry statement asserted that India has a court mandatory obligation under the bilateral treaty to hand over Hasina, and warned that sheltering convicted persons would be a, quote, highly unfriendly gesture. The letter cited the bilateral extradition treaty of 2013 that was amended in 2016 between India and Bangladesh. The treaty between India and Bangladesh and India's Domestic Extradition Act are central because they impose legal standards and also give India discretion. Dual criminality and procedural conditions. The treaty stipulates the principle of dual criminality, which means the offence for which extradition is sought must be punishable in both countries. Bangladesh's request appears to satisfy the procedural condition. The ICT has convicted Hasina and issued an arrest warrant which allows Dhaka to request her return. However, the nature of the offence, crimes against humanity, may not map perfectly onto India's domestic categorization, which gives New Delhi latitude to decline. Grounds for refusal could be that the treaty allows refusal of extradition if the offence is political in nature, or if the person sought risks unfair trial, or if the request appears trivial or not in good faith. India's Extradition Act 1962 similarly gives the Indian government power to refuse extradition if the request is politically motivated, oppressive, or not in the interest of justice. India's stance so far has been that India has not officially agreed to hand over Hasina. Its Ministry of External Affairs has said that it takes note of the ICT verdict and remains committed to Bangladesh's stability, democracy and inclusion, but has made no commitment to extradition. Analysts say that India is unlikely to yield. There are legal, diplomatic and strategic reasons to hold off. Beyond legalities, the dispute is profoundly political. The Awami League leadership and its supporters argue that the tribunal verdict itself is illegitimate. They contend that the trial was conducted under an unelected transitional government with no parliamentary mandate, making the process a kangaroo court or politically motivated witch hunt. Hasina herself has denounced the verdict as bias, claiming she is willing to face an independent court, even at The Hague. The Awami League insists any appeal or process should happen under a democratically elected government that includes their participation. This complicates acceptance of Dhaka's legal process. For India, these arguments matter. Extraditing someone when the requesting state's judicial process is seen as lacking legitimacy or impartiality raises risk of political backlash, humanitarian concerns, or setting a precedent. So will India send Hasina back? Putting all of the above together, the answer is it is highly unlikely that India will extradite Sheikh Hasina at this time. And here's why. Legal discretion. The treaty gives India a wide margin of legal discretion and the ability to refuse on grounds of political character of offence, risk of unfair trial, or lack of dual criminality. Political and diplomatic cost. Hasina is a former ally, and the Awami League has historically been India-friendly. Handing her over to a transitional government could be viewed as India siding with a regime that lacks popular mandate and may undermine India's influence in Bangladesh. Human rights or fairness concerns. If India judges that Hasina might face an unfair trial or even risk of death penalty, which many jurisdictions view as a ground to refuse extradition, it will be reluctant. Precedent and stability. Sending her back could destabilize bilateral ties and could encourage similar extradition requests in politically charged contexts, something India might want to avoid. Bangladesh, however, is pressing strongly, framing non-compliance as unfriendly, and that adds the diplomatic pressure. Although, given the multiple legal, political and diplomatic obstacles, India is likely to delay or refuse. The formal request exists, that is the note verbal and treaty basis, but compliance is far from automatic. Meanwhile, Hasina remains in India, protected de facto. In sum, Bangladesh's formal request to India for the extradition of Sheikh Hasina is legally grounded and diplomatically forceful. The treaty offers a legal mechanism, but India's position is far from clear that it must comply. The treaty also offers robust grounds for refusal, and India is likely to use them, combined with strategic caution. For now, the extradition is unlikely. India will probably delay, seeking to preserve its discretion, avoid entanglement in Bangladesh's domestic power struggle, and maintain its rational posture. Meanwhile, the legitimacy of the trial and the transitional government in Dhaka will remain central to any future decision. Should the Bangladeshi government address fairness concerns, invite independent observers, or ensure a trial under broader democratic legitimacy, the calculus might shift. But as of now, India is more likely sitting on the sidelines.